This is an aerial photograph that I took on a flight over Kwinana, just south of Perth. And this image was entered into the Western Australian Professional Photography Awards and got a gold. So I just wanted to show you how I edited this one. This is the original photograph here as taken. And what I've got here, if I can show you this one, is the final edited version here. Whoopsie daisy, that's not the final edited version, that is the final edited version. So if I go from here, start to finish, you can see there's quite a bit of difference, and you can see how the little river of toxic waste there pops out from the rest of the image, and it has a more of a 3D look. So very simple. The first thing I need to show you is where I started. The image was actually, I made a copy here. The image was actually originally an RGB file, which they all are, and to do most of the editing I actually changed the image from RGB to LAB. But before I did that, there was a step that I did, which is the apply image command. So I went Command J or Control J if you're on a PC to duplicate the photograph. You can see now I've got two layers, the background and layer 1. So what I want to do is I want to go up to Image and down to Apply Image, and I want to just change the channel from RGB to red. This sort of gives us our grungy look. It's a little bit dark for what I want, so I might just check out using the mask option here. Tick that little box, change the layer. Oh, hang on. What's going on here? Why am I showing that it's in? Aha, there we go. It's choosing the wrong image to mask. I was on this one here, which was the LAB file. So it had me stumped there for a while, but good, we've got through it. It's this one here. So now I can change the channels, they'll be red, green and blue instead of LA and B. Okay, so and make sure the channel's on red and invert is selected there. So if we turn this on and off, we can see how it's gotten grungier, but it hasn't got too grungy, hasn't got too dark. So I've turned this preview button here. You can see before and after. It's just gives us a bit of contrast and a bit of a lift. So I'm going to click OK, and then at that stage I will flatten the image, Command Shift E or Control Shift E if you're on a PC, and then convert it from image mode from RGB to LAB color. And then I'm going to go in and start working on it. So I can get rid of this file now, Command W, and if you shortcut, you don't have to go up and move your mouse over and click on Don't Save, just hit D on the keyboard and it doesn't save. So here's where we are. This is the apply image that I put on there. You can see there it is. So this is a LAB file. This is the other one that I had there, just to show you we're in the same position, but now I'm working on the original file that I mucked around with. So the next thing I did is I wanted to really make those details pop in the image. So I used this little technique called Freaky LAB, which is a way of making all the highlights really pop out. Any details in the shadow areas will pop as well. So it's pretty cool little technique to use. So what I've done is I'll just stamp a visible copy on top of all that, Command Option Shift E, just so that I've got something to go back on if I want to. I can delete this layer if I need to. And forget all these layers on top, because we're just working on this one now. Okay, so with this layer, what we need to do is we need to go to, we'll just duplicate it again, Command J or Control J, and we're going to, because we need to have that base background layer. I'm going to go to Channels, I'm going to select Lightness, and what we've done now is we've selected the Lightness channel only. You see that's the one that's selected with the blue bar, but we want to see the color in what we're doing, so we'll just click the eye. You can see now that all the color comes back online, all the eyes are back on. but only the lightness channel is selected. We're going to go up to filter, down to blur, down to Gaussian blur, and I like to use a radius of about 60 pixels. It can be more or less, it just depends on how you're feeling on the day. Click OK. Next step, important step, is to click back on LAB so that all the colors, all the channels come back online. Go to layers, here we are here, and we're going to change the blend mode of this layer from normal down to linear burn. It'll go pretty funky, and then we're going to invert that layer. Now the shortcut for that is Command I or Control I, and there we have the basis of what we want to do. Now I want to put another blend mode onto this layer, but you can see this layer already has a blend mode of linear burn. So if I want to create, put another blend mode on, all I need to do is stamp a visible copy on top. So basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to go Command Option Shift E or Control Alt Shift E if you're on a PC, and that's going to put a stamped copy on top. You can see it goes on and nothing changes. I'm going to go back and delete this layer underneath because we don't need that anymore, because what will happen is if we change the blend mode of this, it'll mix down with this one here, and we want to get rid of this one. This was just there basically to set up this look, and this layer is the same look, but it's going to have a new blend mode on it. So we'll delete layer 1 copy. There's layer 2, and all we do now is we change the blend mode from normal down to screen. And when you see what this does, you can see how much detail is popping there in all the highlight areas, in the shadows. It's really pulling out some awesome detail. I'm going to delete that because I've already done it, and I'm going to delete that one because it's already there. This is what I ended up with here. Oopsie, that's the one that actually has to be deleted as well. I'll delete that. Stamp visible, that's the one that we've just created. So basically you can see that there. Okay, the next thing I did is I wanted to add some color. You can see it's just made it a little bit more interesting. It's a little bit kind of pasty there, but that's added a nice bit of orange to it. So when I did that, you can again ignore those layers there. I went up to curves, did a curves adjustment layer, clicked on the A channel, clicked a point in the middle, and I just start messing with pushing these curves around. So I sort of give them a really good push and pull. If you just click on one of the points and then use your arrow keys, you can actually fine tune it that way. So you can see I'm just arrowing up and down and all over the place. Then I'm going to go to my B channel, roughly do a similar sort of thing. And I'm looking just to see what effect I can get by doing this, and how I can separate all the colors out, how I can change things around. And I work visually, so I'm just basically exploring the possibilities. Now, because I have a bit more time, I'll sit down and I'll just push and pull this until I'm happy. I can see now it's not exactly where I want it to be, so it's just a matter of working out where you want to put all these lines. If it's not where you want to be, go back to the A channel, and again you can start messing around, and there we go, that's starting to get a bit more of the color I want. So that's how I do start messing with the colors in LAB mode, and it's a pretty effective way of doing things. So I'm going to delete that because I showed you how to do it, and just show you the one I've done here. There it is. Now if I go back in, I can show you what I actually did with the curve. There it is. I've actually moved this point up as well. In the A channel, in the B channel, I've done that. So pretty easy, but it gives you that effect. Just move this across a bit. You can see I'm just adding a little bit more interesting color. The next thing is I've done a dodge and burn layer. So what I've gone down to this little icon, which is to create a new layer icon. Hold down the Option key and then click on that. Comes up with a dialog box. If you hold down the Option key, it forces this dialog box to open up. So I'm going to change the blend mode from normal down to soft light, and then this changes and it says fill with soft light, neutral color 50% gray. Click OK, and then click OK, and that'll give us this gray layer you can see there. Now if I go to my brush tool and paint with white, everything will get lighter. If I paint with black, everything will get darker. You can see over here my foreground and background colors are actually wrong at the moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit D on the keyboard, which is the default for the foreground and background colors. And then I'm going to hit X because I want to lighten some areas up. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to make my brush using the square brackets, just going to make my brush a little bit smaller. And I'm going to have the opacity of my brush say set to 10% there. Now if I hit 2 on the keyboard, that's 20%, 3 is 30, 0 is 100%. If I do it really quickly, 1, 1, it's 11%, or 1 is 10%, 1, 3 quickly is 13%. So I like to brush it about 10%. And what I've done is I've actually gone through and I've brushed through all these areas here. I use a Wacom Cintiq 27 HD at home, and that makes it so much easier when you're actually editing like that. You can really start to make a difference quickly. You can be more accurate. You're actually working right on the screen itself. What I'm doing here at the moment was working on my trackpad, which is not a great way to work at all. So I can't. Let's see. So that's my phone ringing. Decline that one. I'm going to set the opacity at say 50% because I need to show you basically what I'm wanting to do, which is to lighten up through these areas here. And you can see I've just gone over the line because I'm clicking on a trackpad and it's pretty ridiculous. So let's just say that's the way I would do things. I've lightened the light areas and I've darkened areas as well, which will give you that contrast. So if I hit X on the keyboard, have black as my foreground color, I can now go and any dark lines, I can actually draw along those dark lines, and that'll help things pop. Now that's obviously too strong because I've got it on 50%, but I drop back to 10%, you can see I can actually draw along that line there, and it just darkens it up. So it's going to help the image pop. So I've gone through and done a bit of that. Let's delete that layer. This is the one here. If I click on and off on the eye, you can see how I've lightened up through there and darkened a few other areas. You can see down the bottom here, around this area here, where I've darkened some of those details and just some of those edges. If I click option click on that, option click there, you can see what I've actually done. And that dodge burn layer has been reduced in opacity. So I've set it at 100%, found that it was too strong, and just pulled it back to 50%. The next thing, just go back out, is I really like to have the outsides of my images a little bit darker, just to hold your eye in and stop them from escaping out the sides. So I've just done a curves adjustment layer, as you can see there, and that's just basically to darken those edges down. So that curve adjustment layer would have been done something like this. Got to the lightness channel, pulled this down, messed around with this outside. This controls the saturation and the contrast. So I want it just to go a little bit darker. And then obviously I invert that, Command I, B for brush, painting with white as my foreground color because on the black layer there, make my brush a little bit bigger with the right square bracket, and then I've just setting a say 30% opacity, and I've just gone around and darkened those areas there like so, and just kept going over that. And if you want it a little bit darker, you can always go back into this curve and pull it down after the fact, and you can make all sorts of adjustments to it. So that's what I've done there. If I delete that one, this is the one I've done earlier, and all done. So that is how we did that. So if I go back to the start, Option or Alt click on the eye, you can see there's our before, that's our after, and I think it's much better. Thanks guys.